Well, howdy folks, Elcorix here, and welcome to Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 111. And today we're going to be talking about another clan mech, the Loki, aka Hellbringer. And it's a 65-ton Omni mech that, well, it's not one of the favorites of mine. It has a tendency not to get used as much as, let's say, its 55-ton brethren. You know, I have a choice between a Loki or a, well, that Ryokan. I'm going to check the Ryokan out all the time. Now, Loki, 65 tons. It's a 580. Has XL engines. It carries around 13 double heat sinks on the engine. And it has 128 points of armor. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why it doesn't get so much use. Also, this thing does not carry any Indosteel or ferrofibrous armor. And it carries 28.5 tons of pod space. Got a lot of pod space. Personally, I would have given up 2.5 tons of my pod space, drop it down to 26, put ferrofibrous armor on it, and then probably added about close to 80 points of armor on this thing. Kind of makes sense to me. Then it makes it I'm willing to give up a couple tons of pod space, make something turn into a little bit more useful mech. Alright. That being said, there we go. Now, mostly what I like to use this thing for is anti-infantry, kind of a run around with my lighter mechs. It's one of those ones where, since it doesn't have a lot of armor on it, I have a tendency to throw it in there where it's kind of an anti-scouting role, kind of like I talked about the Vulture being a star commander for lighter stars. The Loki falls definitely into that category for me, where I like to use it and throw it in with some a medium star or a light star, just to give it a little more punch and firepower. Throw in some more pod space, you know, more heavier weapons into some of your lighter, faster ones, so it can become more of a fire support base comparatively. Because when you really look at it and you're talking about a lot of these lighter, if you're going against Inner Sphere, your lights and mediums, this one can handle those pretty easily because it has the firepower to just knock them down pretty quickly. And it does have some armor comparatively equal to a lot of lights and mediums of the Inner Sphere. But if you're going clan on clan, this thing, if I see a Loki out there and I'm playing a clan game, I'm like, oh, let's just kill that thing real quick, because it doesn't take much to get to the juicy inner side. So, you know, there's not much armor there. A couple good PPC hits, Gauss hits, and this thing is usually having a very bad day. All right, that being aside. Now, the only thing you have to worry about for space being used up is the left and right torso with the XL engines, obviously, because it has those. They have to go 2 on each side. So that leaves it lots of space to put all kinds of goodies into it. Now, the primary version has an ERPPC in the right arm, Streak 6 in the right torso with a ton of ammo, 2 machine guns in the right torso with the ammo, half ton, ERPPC in the left, and then ECM, active probe, targeting computer, 3 ER medium lasers in the left torso. Then we have the anti-missile system in the head with a ton of ammo in the center torso, and both right and left legs have 2 battle pods, or A-pods, for taking out infantry. Now, right now, you look at that and you're going, oh, that's a lot of firepower. Yes, it does. It has lots and lots of firepower. And this is what you would call a recon mech. And that's why I said it primarily falls into being used for my recon stars. Throwing in with some lighter, gives some extra firepower because those PPCs and all the other goodies and stuff. So it helps out greatly if you're running into infantry. It's got the machine guns and stuff that can do some good work. It has ECM, and the probe which a lot of other mechs don't have. So it's a standard configuration. This is a scout. This is how I like to use it. The primary version is pure scout. Now the big drawback of this thing is it has 2 ER PPCs, it has 30 heat. If you run, that's 32. It can dissipate 26. So you're fire both those things, you're already up on 6, and suddenly you're finding yourself with a 4/6 moving mech, which makes it easier to kill. And I've seen many games where people will fire both those things, slow their mech down. It's like, oh, you don't have the armor to back it up, and guess what? I'm going to tear you to pieces even faster. And if they do it again, well, I guess it makes it even easier. So, yeah. It's one of those things where you can only fire one of those things and then back it up with your couple ER medium lasers. Alright. So, this thing would have been better off with like an PPC and maybe a ER large laser instead of a second PPC, and then take that extra tonnage and throw it into heat sinks to help dissipate some of that heat. So that's how I always look at that one. So if you did take the primary and change it a little bit, you could go that route. Now the alpha version has an AC5 Ultra with a couple ton of ammo, and the right arm has an LRM-20 in the right torso with ton of ammo, then 2 machine guns in the right torso, TR large lasers in the left arm with an active probe, dark beacon in the left torso with a ton of ammo, an ER medium laser in the head, and then we have in the center torso a ton of machine gun ammo to back up those 2 machine guns found in the right torso. This one is once again kind of falling into the scout. It's a battle leader for a star, a light star or a medium star recon unit with that probe. So you're actually going out, and if you're running, it's like, oh, there's some infantry over there, let's go nuke it, mow them down with whatever weapons you have. You see some light mechs, medium mechs, this thing can handle it pretty quickly. It's got the firepower to tear things up. Only problem is, once again, heat. Alright. This thing would have been better served instead of having the 2 large lasers in the left arm, which does 24. You can fire both of them, fine and dandy, and then run. That doesn't bother the heat. But if you start throwing any of the other weapons in there, then you start cooking this thing pretty hard. So in some ways, you might have been better off maybe with one of them, and then throw some more heat sinks on it and a couple of ER medium lasers or something of that nature. But you could get by with just the 2 large lasers firing at with nothing else. But if you start throwing in the autocannon and double pumping that thing with the LRMs, and then you are start running up on the heat scale. And I've seen many times, once again, people that play clans, they love to fire everything they have, and the next thing you know, they're shutting down. Which is fine if you're facing them. It's like, okay, go. Yeah. Yay, Alpha Strike. Oh, yay. Guess what? You might be blowing up or cooking off your armor or shutting down, etc. And then they're going, oh, that's not a great idea. Yeah. Congratulations. You're helping me win the game. Now, the Braava version is got a Gauss rifle, which isn't so bad, in the right arm with a ton of ammo. So it's 8 turns. So they kind of like the designers go, well, we don't have the armor to go with this thing, so the odds of it sticking around 8 turns is pretty slim. So, let's just throw a 1 ton in with this big, giant, massive 12 tons of equipment. Then it carries around in the right torso 2 SRM-6s, has with Artemis. Okay, and I was like, why did you just make them streaks? And then you have the 2 tons of ammo in the right torso to go with that. You have an LBX 5 in the right arm with a ton of ammo, and then you have a ER small laser. Okay, this thing has a lot of decent firepower, especially if it gets up close. But like I said, why would you not just go with streaks instead of, I guess that's 2.5, yeah. But I'd rather, you could always downgrade that Gauss rifle to a AC-10 Ultra, possibly. Make up the tonnage there too. Yeah, it's just how they built it. I'm not overly a big fan of this one. This is one doesn't really worry too much about heat problems to go with it. It's like you don't even, with the 26 heat sinks, this thing's the only time it's going to worry about heat is if it gets some engine hits on it. And with the low armor, it has 10. It's not a bad one, but it's not one of my favorites, obviously. The Charlie version has an ATM-6 with 3 tons of ammo, so you get all 3 configurations. Has an LBX-5 ammo in the right torso, so obviously we're going to have an LBX ammo, or 1 ton, I can't even say this, LBX-20 in the right torso. That's not bad. That's like big, giant, massive shotgun. And then we have an ER large laser for when you're closing. So you can sit off a distance and bring it in. 2 ER small lasers in the left arm, and 2 ER medium lasers in the left torso, and then more LBX, 2 tons of ammo. So you have 3 tons of LBX ammo, so you can have 2 cluster and 1 solid if you want, or just go standard all 3 clusters. It's up to you. But the odds of you going through all 15 are pretty slim, to be honest with you. But with an LBX-20, this is one of those ones that as you're closing, with using the ER large laser and that ATM-6, you're doing some damage as you're closing. From longer ranges, as you get closer, then you start moving into the better with the ATM until you're using like the SRM version of it. And then hopefully the target you're shooting at doesn't have hardly any armor left, has a whole bunch of open spots. And let me tell you, if you've never been hit by an LBX-20 that gets all 20 little 1-point plinker shots, let me tell you, you can kill a mech pretty quickly with just criticals alone. It's like, oh, chance of critical, chance of critical, chance of critical, chance of critical. And then you're basically hunting and knocking out ammo selections. That's pretty much how I like to use that one. And that isn't bad when it comes to using it in a medium or light star, because by the time you get, let's say you're wolf packing up and hitting a medium or heavy mech and most of the armor's gone, and then you blast them with that shotgun, whew, ouch. They're not going to be happy, especially if it's early intersphere before they get case, and all that ammo is typically just parked out there, and you have 1 in 3, 1 in 3, 1 in 6, 50% chances of hitting ammo, and you hit them with a whole bunch of 1-pointers, and you hit the same selection. Yeah, there are many times I've just seen mechs just disintegrate under an ammo explosion because somebody hit them with an LBX cannon. Works great early in the campaigns. Alright, the Delta version. We have 2 plasma cannons. That's throwing out some heat here. With 2 tons of ammo. We have 2 medium pulse lasers in the right torso. 2 plasma cannons in the left arm. With 2 tons of ammo. Then we have 2 medium pulse lasers in the left torso, micro pulse laser, and just like kind of infantry. And then we have some B pods, yeah, 2 in each leg. This one's running around 2150 when it comes to battle value. All the other ones are easily running pretty low in the battle value, but this one here is one of those ones where you can do some pretty good work, but once again, you got to watch your heat on this one. You can pump out a ton of heat really quickly on somebody or yourself, but yeah, it's not a bad one. I've used it, let's see, twice maybe at Gen Con. Got a hold of one of these, so yeah, it's not that not something you write home about. Don't have a lot of experience with it, but it can do the job. Then we got the Echo version. We have 2 ER large lasers in the right arm, LRM-10 in the right torso with ton of ammo. Then we have jump jets in the right torso, Hag 20 in the left arm with 2 tons of ammo. Then we have jump jets in the left torso and center torso. So this one is a little bit mobile, works pretty good. This is your city fighters. If you get a star that has nothing but jump jets and you know you're going into a city fight, so everybody's outfitted with jump jets, you can get in behind somebody really quickly and start tearing things up, or displace from city block to city block, making mobility your best friend, because that's one thing the clans do kind of negate a lot of times, is that they don't have a lot of mechs that just standard configurations with jump jets. So you have to take some pod space, throw some jump jets on, and this one it actually does it. But it comes in at 2,300 battle value. Probably a lot of that comes with the Hag 20. That's probably thrown in a lot of increased battle value with it. And that right there is 12 tons. So you might have been gone with maybe some medium pulse lasers instead, with some heat sinks to go with it to dissipate some of the heat that goes. So that might have been something to think about. And they do have, you look at the primary version does have targeting computer part of the network, so you could throw a targeting computer in too, one way or the other, and maybe some more heat sinks. The hotel version H, we have a ERPPC in the right arm, Ultra 5 autocannon right torso with 2 tons of ammo. We got a heavy large laser in the left arm, 4 heavy small lasers. Okay. And then we have an LB or an LRM 15 in the left torso with a 2 tons of ammo, active probe, and then APODs in the left and right leg. Comes in around 1950. This one is very similar to maybe the alpha version in some ways, with an active probe. It's kind of like maybe a derivation of the alpha version. Kind of the same weapons, but instead of the 2 large lasers, they put in a PPC instead for a little more punch, and a heavy laser along with the 4 heavy small lasers. Okay, so yeah, that's not so bad. But once again, this one is kind of suffering from the heat problems that most of the designs have. So you can get yourself into trouble pretty quickly on the heat scale. So that is pretty much everything, your standard configurations. And one of these, actually, how I like to look at the Loki, if I'm going to build my standard configuration, I'm going to throw 5 tons right off the bat into jump jets, leaving me 23 tons of pod space. Throw it like a ERPPC, or maybe a large pulse. Large pulse, actually, I kind of like the idea. If I'm running it with my recon elements, I'd rather have a large pulse laser, because I'm going to be running the gunning more. I'd rather hit the targets and knock down, because if you're running a gunning and you're doing recon or counter recon, you're going to be taking on some faster mechs. And it does help to have something that puts it more into your camp of being able to hit. And you probably know where I'm going to go on. I'm going to probably throw a targeting computer on it. So right there, that's 2 tons more because of the large pulse laser. So right there's 8. And that leaves us, 15 tons left. And probably put on 4 medium pulse lasers. See, that's, that'd be another ton. That's 9. So that leaves me 6 tons. And I probably put on maybe a couple, a streak 6. And then depending on how much tonnage left, put a ECM and an active probe. Just kind of like how I would look at building this thing just off the top of my head, which isn't a bad deal. It would make it more of a recon scout support mech. And then if you're looking at something with a lot of pulse lasers and a targeting computer, you are able to hit those recon elements that you're doing counter recon on a lot easier, and then you can just tear them up and then clear the field. And if you can control the recon element side and you push things around, and obviously your recon can get in behind theirs, take out their fire support, especially if you get guys that like to park like archers or bombardiers or something of that nature, or longbows, park them in the rear with their LRMs and turn them into a fire base, or let's say an LRM carrier. You could tear those things up pretty quickly and get inside their minimum ranges, so their primary weapons are forced to still shoot down range, and they can't do anything much against you. So get inside them and start punching and kicking them, because a clan doesn't like to get close. But if I see elements like that that are geared towards shooting from 7 on out, and they don't like anybody getting close, I'm going to get into your face and grab you by the nose and start kicking you around. And that clan can do that pretty quickly, because they don't worry about those minimum ranges with their equipment comparatively to the inner sphere. So that's some thought that go with this one. It's not a bad mech if you put it in the right role, and if you throw it into the wrong role, this thing will get tore up quickly. So you got to pick and choose your battles, how you're going to use this thing. So other than that, it's not bad, not great, nothing to write home about. So just watch what you do with it. All right, this is Hellcrex. Hope you guys enjoy this one. Like and subscribe, share with all your friends, and we will see you on the flip side. Hellcrex out.